My name is Camilla Morelli. I am a social anthropologist and I recently completed a PhD at the University of Manchester. In this slideshow presentation, I will briefly introduce my research, which is based on a 40-month fieldwork with indigenous Matses children. The Matses are indigenous people living in Peruvian Amazonia. I specifically look at children's relations with and contributions to ongoing processes of social, economic, and environmental change. And in so doing, I want to address a major lacuna in the anthropology and ethnography of Amazonia, which have given little or no attention to Amazonian childhood. Whereas I argue that it is essential to consider Amazonian childhood in contemporary anthropology. I especially consider how Matses children actively contribute to the passage from a lifestyle based on the forest onto a lifestyle based on the river, a growing concern with the urban world of cities in Matses societies, and finally, emerging perceptions of inequality, marginality, and poverty amongst Matses people. I use collaborative and visual methodologies, such as children's drawing, as you can see here, in order to grasp forms of knowledge that are not often put into words. For instance, I distributed digital cameras to children in the field, and I use photographs that they take, such as this one here, because I want to examine types of knowledge that are generated through the moving body and sensorial engagement with the material surroundings. Especially, I want to explore how children develop sensorial engagement and affective relations with the riverine environment. Although Matses children are now extremely skilled at all sorts of riverine activities, like in these photographs you can see a 6-year-old child who is extremely skilled at paddling. Only recently Matses people have started engaging with the river, because until the 1970s, the Matses lived itinerantly and in isolation in the forest, and they kept away from navigable rivers. So these photographs taken by the children that show them playing and laughing can really help explore the type of affective engagement, the emotional relationship that the children establish with the river environment on a daily basis. And at the same time, the absence of the forest world from the photographs taken by the children reveals that the children refused to engage with the forest environment, which was instead and still is so important for all the generations of Matses, and therefore reveal that the children are actively changing the ways that Matses people engage with their environments. I also use drawings to explore how children imagine and thereby engage with the world of cities at a distance from their forest villages, and in so doing contribute to a growing concern with the urban world amongst Matses people. For instance, in this drawing made by 6-year-old Paloma, a Matses girl, you can see the city of Iquitos, which is very remote from where Paloma lives, so most children have never seen the city. And yet, in this drawing, Paloma is drawing herself in the center of the drawing, inside a car, together with her mother, which is something that never really happened. And in this other drawing, a Matses boy, Freddy, is representing himself in the city, walking out at night with electric light and on a concrete path. And both concrete and electric light are things that Matses children really place value on, but these things are not available in the forest villages. So here I suggest the drawing and imagining offer to the children the possibility to engage with a world that is not available to direct perception, to engage with all what the city world has to offer, such as in this drawing where a boy has drawn a shop where he can imagine to buy all sorts of goods that are sold in the city and that are not available in his village, such as fresh baked bread, cookies, clothes, and so forth. However, at the same time, drawing and imagining reinforcing the children the awareness that they are poor, they are marginalized, they cannot possibly access all the goods that the city has to offer, which is emphasized by this drawing of an airplane made by a boy, which suggests that the airplanes, as the boy explained to me, can reach Matses land, but Matses children and most Matses adults as well cannot possibly take an airplane and reach the urban world whenever they like, because it is too expensive to do so, and Matses people are poor. Finally, I carried out a series of filmed interviews asking the children how they imagine themselves as grown-ups. These are captions from these filmed interviews, which brought out that on one side the children want to have different lives from their elders. For instance, they want to earn money, they want to own manufactured goods, they want to be able to travel to the city. But at the same time, these filmed interviews also brought out the children's concern and preoccupations that they will not be able to have all these things because they occupy a marginalized position in the world economy. So my work really wants to argue that children's playing, children's imagination, drawing, as well as their children's desire for the future are not to be dismissed as infantile activities free of consequences, but instead they hold serious relevance for the wider society and therefore must be taken seriously in anthropological research.